Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our online academy. My name is Alicia, and I'm very excited to be joining you today at the Aquarium of the Pacific. Are you ready to learn all about octopuses? Yeah, me too. So we're going to be doing a class today, but I encourage you scientists to ask questions. So our class today is a little bit more free form to allow you to ask all about the octopus. Yay! So if you're excited, I'm excited. We have our text in line here. Our texts are going to Miss Carrie. Carrie is taking all of your questions. She'll be answering some of those and passing some of those along to me to answer live. We also have Miss Jen, who's back here helping to control all of our images that we have. If you're watching this after our program is live, you can always email here at live@lbaop.org. Okay, so I'm going to leave our text line up here. We're going to be talking all about octopuses. So I'll go ahead and first of all, this environment we have here, this is one of our exhibits here at the aquarium. I wanted to show you an example of where you might find an octopus. Yeah, this would be our very own backyard here in Southern California. So our water, if you were a scuba diver and you were to jump in here, oh cool, look, the shark's out. Then the water would be kind of cold. This is how some of the octopuses locally like it. And there's lots, you see this? There's lots of little nooks and crannies that you might find an octopus, which is pretty cool. So this is why I wanted to kind of get you into one of the habitats that you might find an octopus. Now, there are many different kinds of octopus, and they also have lots of relatives within a big group of animals. You ready for our first science word? This big group that includes octopus and squid. Maybe we'll take a picture of an octopus just to kind of get us ready for thinking about this big group of animals. Here we go. Here's a little two-spot octopus that we'll be talking about today. Good morning, octopus. So this two-spot octopus has lots of octopus relatives, but within this larger group, we call them cephalopods. Yep, cephalopods. So that's our big science word for today. You can yell it out. Cephalopod! Cephalopods. So cephalopods are awesome. Do they look like us? No. But that's what I love about many ocean creatures. They have very different ways to survive in their ocean homes. So I want you just to kind of take a look at the octopus today and think about what are some special things that you notice. You can share them with your family members. You can share them with your teacher. If you're watching with the class, you can write them down. But let's be good scientists today and use our observations to maybe make notes or make observations about some of these little details. Why is the octopus so special? What stands out to you? Oh, so we have our first question coming in. Is it true that octopus can camouflage? I love that you just introduced another science word for us to practice today, camouflage. So camouflage is the ability to blend in. And I think we do have a picture. We'll see if we can find one of our two-spot octopus blending into its habitat. Now, this is a quality of all of the cephalopods. Whoa, did you see that? This is a tropical species of octopus. And look, it's red now. Maybe we'll watch that clip again. Okay, got to look closely. Oh my goodness. Did you see that? So the ability to be able to change their color very quickly. And even, look, did you see that? Their texture. So when I say texture, I'm talking about smooth to bumpy or bumpy to smooth. They can change how they view. This is the opposite. You ready? I'm going to step out of the way so you can take a look. This octopus wants to hide, maybe to hide from predators. Whoa! Or to hide so that it can grab maybe a little fish or animal that's not paying attention. This is some great footage here. So these animals have the ability to do this because underneath their skin, this first layer of skin, they have special cells. Those cells are filled with different colors. and you can kind of see them here. So the very top of them are actually clear. They're very top of their skin. Right underneath, they have these little, it's kind of like these little pockets of color. And at different times, they can squeeze it together and make one color come to the surface and one that stays behind. So all of a sudden, it will be like we saw, the octopus will become red, or they can change what color comes to the surface. They could be spotted. They could bring up to the surface this bright circle of blue. This is another type of, this isn't quite camouflage, but this is an adaptation using color. I wonder, why would this octopus have this bright circle? Now, I'll give you a hint. It has this bright circle on both sides. So we can use color to help us hide. Why might an octopus use a bright color on its body? I'll have you think about that. So the ability to change their color is called camouflage, and the special cells that they have underneath are called chromatophores. You don't have to remember that, but in case you were interested, we might have a video, Miss Jen, I'm not sure if you have that available, to show them the squid chromatophores. Here we go. Ta-da! So here we see, this is squid. So squid, octopus, cuttlefish, nautilus, those are all members of that cephalopod group. And they all have the same ability to use those special cells underneath their skin. So again, that first layer is clear, and underneath you're really seeing the tiny little muscles bringing up those pockets of color. I think are so cool, and they can do that in a very short amount of time. Oh, all right. So another question is, how do octopus eat prey? So remember, prey is something that an animal eats. So how do they eat prey bigger than their mouths? Well, let me ask you out there, have you ever had a sandwich in your hands or food that was much bigger than your mouth? What did you do? You probably took a bite. Yeah, so they're able to take a bite of their prey. But let's first think about, how are they going to grab their prey, and what might they eat? So to help us think about this, I want you to look at the body here. What is this octopus doing? How are they changing what's happening around them? If we take a look, maybe we have another footage too of them using their arms, right? So, perfect. What do we notice about these arms? Have you ever counted them? You're probably like, yes, Alicia, they have 8. You are correct. An octopus has these 8 arms, and then they have all of these things in here, right? Those are suction cups. So these suction cups can allow them to taste the food around them. Oh, so a question had come in, why does an octopus have 8 legs? Well, you're right on track there. We would call them arms, but they do move around kind of like legs. I'm not sure exactly why they have 8, but it does tend to help them for being able to feel around their habitat. And again, those suction cups are very special. They can actually taste the water. So it's kind of like our tongue. Our tongue can taste chemicals in the foods that we're eating, and they can taste chemicals that are floating around the water, and that will help them find where their prey might be. So they can stick on to their prey, and then they're going to bring it in towards their mouth. Yes, their mouth. So what might their mouth look like? I wonder. So we were wondering earlier, did you get a chance to think about what those little circles were? So sometimes we can have color, like our giant Pacific octopus here, that helps us blend in. Maybe the octopus is also pretty calm and exploring. But we can also use color to warn or scare predators. So those 2 circles were like false eyes, as we call them, or fake eyes on top. So if you were thinking about that, let's go ahead and answer a few more questions. Miss McCulloch's class, how do they protect themselves? Oh, Miss McCulloch's class, that's a great question. Any initial ideas, everybody? Well, we kind of looked at one way, right? They're able to use their color changing. They can either hide, they can scare away predators using their color, so color is one. And then Miss Jen had showed us that really cool video of the octopus going into a little space. Did you see that? Yeah, this little space here, we couldn't fit in that. And a giant Pacific octopus can probably be as big as, one of you out there. They're huge. They can be up to 100 pounds, but they can still fit into these tiny spaces. How do they do that? Well, cephalopods, remember that big group, they're pretty unique. They are called invertebrates. They have no bones. They might have a structure inside their body that gives them a little support. The octopus, though, only has one hard part on its body. And I'm going to see if you can figure out what that is. This is our mystery item. So I'm going to go to my document camera. Some of you had already started asking about this, but I wanted to show you this mystery item to see if you can figure out what it is. I'm going to go over to my document camera. Here it is. Here's my hand, just to kind of show you. It's pretty dark, but this is the only hard part. This would actually be to either a giant Pacific octopus or a squid. They have very similar parts on the inside, and they use it for similar things. It would be much smaller, of course, if it was for that little two-spot octopus. But this is our mystery item. Can you guess what this might be? So for the octopus, this is the only hard part on the inside of their body. All right, so as you were thinking about that, so Christina had asked, do octopus have bones? So that was an excellent question, Christina. Thank you for asking that. So remember that they're invertebrates. And then how many hearts do they have? Oh, that's a great question. How many hearts do we have? Just the one. For the cephalopod group, they have 3. So they have 1 heart each to help them move that oxygen that they get through their gills. Yep, have you heard that word before? Fish have gills. There are invertebrates like octopus and squid. They also have gills. It's on the inside of their body, and to bring that water that has those little bubbles of oxygen to the inside of their body, they use this siphon here. So they first bring it into that main part of their body, which is called a mantle. That's the thing on the top that kind of looks big and squishy. That's where all of their organs are. So if we were to turn into an octopus, we would have to take all of our organs here and kind of put them on the top here. I know, it's weird. And then we would have all of our arms and legs at the bottom. So they're just structured a little different. So the water goes inside. That water has oxygen bubbles. The gills help them take the oxygen. And then they have 1 heart to help move it through their entire body, but they also have 2 hearts to really help them initially take that oxygen and move it through their system. So they have those 3 hearts. That main heart is called their systemic heart. And the 2 on the side are called their brachial hearts. And then what do they eat? Ooh, I'm going to see if we can get some guesses to think about what they eat as we continue our conversation here. We'll come back to that one too. Miss Barraza's class from Ritter Elementary, where can they be found? Oh, you know what? The really crazy thing about octopus is they are found in many places, especially throughout the Pacific Ocean. You know, that's our ocean right off of our backyard here. So that first habitat that we looked at, that kelp forest habitat, is an excellent place to find our local red octopus, two-spot octopus. As we start to go more north in the Pacific and it gets colder, then we find giant Pacific octopus here that we have showing us that nice siphon. Now what's really cool is because the water is going inside the mantle, maybe we can step back and see another view of the octopus. They'll take that water inside their mantle. Maybe we have another, we kind of see that. There we go, perfect. So this is the mantle. This is where, so they have their eyes. Their brain is actually right in the middle here. And their organs including those hearts we talked about and the gills and their stomach. They're over in this mantle part. So they're going to take in water. Now, if they want, as they're breathing, they can also squeeze and use that power, kind of like if you were to let go of a balloon. And what would happen? Woo, right? You'd blow the balloon up, creates a lot of pressure. Whew. So if you wanted to move around like a squid or an octopus or a cuttlefish, you can fill your mantle up and then you can power. Fill it up and power. Are you moving like Squid today? You can kind of practice this around your house. I'm sure you will get a lot of looks. So again, they're filling their mantle up. Thank you, Miss Jen. And they can use, this is called jet propulsion. So this is for a squid, but they also have this mantle. They also have a brain in the center, and they also have what we call like our appendages. Go ahead and wave your appendages. That could be your arms. Or in this case, they have 8 arms and 2 tentacles, which are pretty cool. Some other questions that have come in: as they grow older, do they lose their pigment or color? Not that I know of. That's a great question, though. You know, there are a lot of animals, especially mammals, who start to change color. We have, like, for example, our sea otters. Our sea otters will get a little bit more silver. Maybe you have a relative who's donning a little bit more silver on the top as they get older. Our octopus and cephalopod friends, I don't know that they really lose that ability. If they were to lose their color or pigment, that would make them easier prey. So there might be another animal that might eat them or find them if they lose that ability to camouflage, as we were talking about. Isn't this cute? I know. It's a little baby octopus, one of my favorite things to look at. Look, so even though they're tiny, miniatures, they still have all those same parts on there. So, all right. So Miss Carrie is bringing in a few more things. How many different kinds of octopus are there? That's Miss Barraza's class. I believe there was over 300 species. I think last was like 330. But just to let you know, there are octopus in the deep sea, and there are places that we just haven't explored yet. So if you really like octopus and you would like to study, be an octopus scientist, a marine biologist, you could potentially find a new type of octopus. In fact, as scientists continue to explore the deep ocean, they occasionally find like new types of squid, which is their cousin, in those deeper parts. We might even find one locally that's been hiding very well. So, you know, there's over 300 out there that we know of so far. Another question was, why do they have these suction cups? Oh, okay. So remember we talked about them being able to grab their prey. They're also using it to stick onto things. And it's kind of like, have you ever seen a plunger for your bathroom? That cup. So what happens is it pushes down against a surface and it creates what we call a vacuum. It gets a little stuck. So, or maybe you've had a toy that has a little cup on it that you stick to a window before. So each one of those is able to push the water out and it creates like a little bit of a suction, and it makes it easier for them to grab onto their prey. So they use it for moving, they use it for sticking to things. They also, importantly, use it to taste their environment. Taste and smell is kind of the same in the water, as long as they're getting information, like our senses do, from our environment, which is pretty cool. So this is a giant Pacific octopus. They can have over 2,000 of these, 2,000 suction cups. And if they injure one, they can partially regrow. They can even partially regrow some of their arms if they were to lose one of their arms. Elena and Christian said, do octopus feel smooth or prickly when you touch them? Oh, man. You know what? I have actually had a chance to touch a giant Pacific octopus, and it was one of my favorite things that I've ever done. And it was here at the aquarium. The octopus put one of its arms out, and it also tasted my hand, and I was so excited. It was very smooth, and it kind of felt kind of, the skin on the top is a little loose. It's not as tough, so it's kind of smooth and a little loose. The suction cups are pretty firm. So even though this animal has no bones, they're pretty sturdy, and that allows them to grab things, as we were talking about, and taste them. So that's a great question. But they're not, even though they can appear prickly, because they don't have any bones or too many hard structures, they actually, if you were to touch them, it would be kind of soft to the touch. Yeah, I know, right? A lot of people want to know what they feel like. And then, let's see here. How long do they live? From Miss Hughes' class? Oh, wow, they have lots of questions they sent in today. How long do they live? You know what's really amazing? These animals are very intelligent, and they have been known to solve some simple puzzles and remember the people that take care of them. And you would think that they would live a really long time with that ability. But in fact, even the giant Pacific octopus, the males can live around 4 to 5 years, and females often live 2 to 3 years. The average is about 2.5 years for a big giant Pacific octopus like this. So they grow very, very fast. They have their babies, they lay eggs, they lay quite a few eggs, and then they pass away. So they have a very short lifespan. Some of the other species, like little cuttlefish, maybe Miss Jen, we can look at cuttlefish because they're one of my favorites. Here's a cuttlefish. Some of them only live a year, or not even a year. They're really small and they grow really quickly. Some of them live a couple of years. Like this is, I believe, one of the larger species that you would find in a tropical habitat. So here's the cuttlefish. That's a great question, by the way. Thinking about lifespans, it is hard to measure that, but because they're a little bit shorter lifespans, growing up at an aquarium, you have a better idea about how long some of these different species live. So this is a cuttlefish. What do you notice that's maybe the same or different compared to the octopus? So as you think about that, and as we're getting some more questions in, did you think about our mystery item? Did we have any guesses, Miss Carrie, about our mystery item? Oh, Miss Carrie said there are so many responses. She's still trying to go through them. So maybe you did respond. If you were thinking beak, you were correct. This is a beak. So it looks kind of like a parrot beak. And I'll go back over here so that we can kind of look at it again. So these two pieces will fold into each other, and they would grab their prey and they can take bites. So someone asked how they can eat things that are bigger than them. Well, just like us, they have a mouth that is able to take a bite of something. And also because their prey can be anything from a crab to maybe a small fish, they have the ability to crack open the crab with those hard pieces. They can also hold on to maybe a slightly slippery fish with that hook on the end there. So depending on what kind of cephalopod, so meaning is it an octopus, a cuttlefish, they have very similar beaks, but they'll be very different sizes. Pretty cool. It kind of looks a little different when you don't know what it is, but I thought it'd be a fun mystery item. Some of you were already asking about beaks, and maybe you've already guessed that. So again, if you were a little tiny, let's say a bobtail squid, which is one of my favorite, they're very small, and they have a very, very tiny, oh, there's one. Oh, my heart. They're so cute. So this is a little squid. It has arms and tentacles hiding there. And I'll tell you a little secret about this animal. It has a tiny little beak, and then around the beak, it has a little pocket. That little pocket holds a special type of glowing bacteria. So bacteria are very, very tiny little organisms, and it holds it in that pocket. So the bacteria gets a place to live, and the little squid here gets a special tool to attract prey. So at night, it can open up and just wait for a little curious fish or maybe tiny little shrimp to go, ooh, look at the glowy bits. And then what do you think happens? They eat them. So this is a Hawaiian bobtail squid. And just so you know, this tiny little animal would fit just in your palm right here. They're so adorable. So this is one of my favorite. If you said, okay, Alicia, what is one of your favorites? This is definitely one of my favorites. So some of you were asking if they have beaks like squid. You are absolutely right. I'm just going to go through some of our questions here to see if I'm missing. Do they grow back their arms if they lose one? Miss Nguyen's class had asked that. That's a great question. Yes, some of them can regenerate. So when we are regrowing a part of your body, we call that regeneration. And there are predators that will try to grab maybe an octopus, and the octopus can, can leave with one less arm and partially regrow that. It also depends on how healthy the animal is. So kind of like if you've heard of, other like maybe lizards that have lost a tail, if they're nice and healthy, they can easily regrow that limb. If they're not as healthy, that might be a little harder, but most of them are able to regrow their arms. That's a great question. All right. Do we have any more questions that we wanted to pass through, Miss Carrie? Oh, lots of questions about babies. All right. So I will tell you that so for octopus, many of them lay lots and lots of eggs. And they first will find a little hidden place. They call it an octopus den. And the eggs are sticky, so they're able to lay their eggs inside this tiny little cave. And then Mama Octopus will take care of that octopus den. That's her little nursery. And so while she's doing this, she's not eating. So this is kind of the last thing that she does in her life. This is kind of her last gift to her babies. Now there's usually thousands of these eggs because they're very small. So for example, the little two-spot octopus lays about 70,000 eggs. That's a lot of babies. And so she'll either stick them onto the side, or sometimes they look like a little like ornaments. They're all stuck together and they hang down from the top of their cave. And the reason they do that is that those little eggs are actually still from the outside of the water. Again, those tiny little bubbles of oxygen want to be able to meet the egg, and they go inside the egg. So as the little baby is developing, there's still some oxygen that's available as they start to learn how to use their gills. So as the little tiny baby is growing in there, those eggs still need to have nice salt water come around. So what Mama does is she'll, what they call aerate her egg. She'll take nice sweeping motions and make sure that nothing's sticking to her eggs, that there's no predators, that there's nice salt water that's coming over her eggs. And then when they're ready, they hatch. And a lot of these, when they're really tiny, they hatch and they drift around. Now, they lay so many eggs because they're easy food for other animals. And so the hope is that out of the 70,000 babies that hatch, maybe one of them gets to grow up. Maybe one or two of them is able to survive and grow up and be a big animal like this, or as the giant Pacific octopus or the two-spot octopus that we were looking at. So it's one of those strategies to be able to have lots and lots of babies so that maybe one or two of them can grow up and be an adorable octopus like this in their home. But it is tough out there. It's a tough life. So being able to camouflage, hide, those are things that really help the octopus as it's growing up. Now, when they are adults, they're pretty efficient predators. So they're hunting things. I know people were asking about food, right? So things, again, like crabs, shrimp, a lot of them can, actually there are some coral predators, some coral octopus that will even take their bodies and will cover a coral piece and then stick their arm in and see if there's any animals that are trapped. Some of them, like the squid or I think we have some footage of, there we go, our cuttlefish using, did you see that? It's using its tentacles. So again, the cuttlefish has an extra set of appendages. So it has those 8 arms, and then it's using its color to help. This is another way they can use color to confuse the predator. And then as it gets closer, woo, it's going to bring in. Now, I forgot to mention, and some of you were asking if are octopus dangerous to people. Now, some of the, especially tropical species, have a little venom. So when they bite their prey, and they use that, I'll go over and grab my beak here, around their beak, they have a little pocket of venom. And so that usually makes it so that when they bite their prey, the prey can't move anymore. Because if you're eating a crab, you don't want the crab to bite your mouth. It wouldn't be good. So usually it helps, what we call immobilize, or make the crab not be able to move anymore. And then they'll be able to eat it. So there are some that, you know, if you were to maybe mess with an octopus, it might defend itself by biting down, and you may have a reaction to that venom. But it's mostly used to help them with their prey. Oh my goodness, it's already 9:31. So we've had a wonderful time. I love all the questions that have come in. I really appreciate all the thought and the observation, scientists, that you've been contributing. Now, I know that we have a lot of classrooms that are participating. We're trying to collect a little bit of data as we have our online academy. So teachers out there, if you wouldn't mind, we would love to know how many students that you are that are joining us today. So if you wouldn't mind just texting in down here to our 562-286-1838 number, a little message about how many students that you have within your classroom. That helps us update our numbers so that we know how many viewers we have, and that helps us with our programming and our priorities. So we love bringing you our programs every day, and we appreciate all the questions that have come in. We do have another program coming in at 10 o'clock, all about whales and conservation. We also have programming happening all next week with our online academy. Thank you, everybody.